Good morning. It's Wednesday, April 8th, 2015. This is your morning edition on I-24 News. Coming up later today, U.S. President Barack Obama concedes faults in the framework deal with Iran, but calls Netanyahu's demand that Tehran recognize Israel a fundamental misjudgment. Today is International Roma Day, which celebrates Romani culture and raises awareness of issues of the ancient and dispersed people face. And later on in the show, we sit down with a modern-day nomad who has visited 110 countries over the last decade. Good morning, I'm Meredith Ross, and we begin with the latest controversy over the landmark framework nuclear deal reached last week between Iran and world powers. Criticism of the newly agreed-upon understandings has been mounting in recent days, especially since different countries have been revealing diverging details on exactly what was agreed upon in Lausanne. U.S. President Barack Obama took to the airwaves again yesterday to defend the agreement, but many have ended up giving the opposition more ammunition, conceding in an interview to NPR that while the deal ensured that Iran would be kept a year away from obtaining a nuclear weapon for more than a decade, that buffer period could shrink to almost nothing after 13 or more years. And in the same interview, Obama curtly dismissed a recent demand voiced by Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu over the final deal, set to be signed in June, be predicated on Tehran recognizing Israel, calling it a, quote, fundamental misjudgment. Israel's requirement of recognition was part of a series of amendments that Jerusalem would like to see instilled in the final deal. This we will hear about today on our panel. And to discuss the gulf between Israeli and American expectations and the possible ramifications, we are joined in the studio by I-24 News diplomatic correspondent Tal Shalev. Good morning, Tal. By Channel 2 Foreign Affairs editor Arad Nir. Good morning, Arad. And also by I-24 News Middle East analyst Ali Wackett. Good morning, Ali. Thank you all for being here. But first, let's watch the following report detailing the recent developments.
Is the U.S. and Iran on a very different page, even in terms of this interim agreement?
It's the $64,000 question reverberating throughout the globe. Less than 1 week after signing what U.S. President Barack Obama hailed as an historic nuclear framework accord, Washington and Tehran are trying to sell their respective narratives. One of the key sticking points, the rate at which sanctions will be lifted, with a senior U.S. official conveying the White House's position directly to the Israeli public.
There are two types of sanctions. One are the U.S. sanctions, which have obviously been the ones that have been particularly biting on the Iranian economy. Those will be phased in response to Iranian performance. When they do certain activities, they'll get sanctions relief. And we'll have the ability to snap those back into place if the Iranians don't comply.
The Islamic Republic, however, has ideas of its own.
The U.S. government should commit itself to lifting all these sanctions the very day the final deal is agreed upon. The Americans have compiled a fact sheet of their own making. Some of the points are plain contradictions.
On the sidelines is Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, whose vocal criticism of the negotiating process has put him on a collision course with the U.S. president.
I'm not trying to kill any deal. I'm trying to kill a bad deal. And you say it's a historic decision, a historic deal. It could be a historically bad deal because it leaves the preeminent terrorist state of our time with a vast nuclear infrastructure.
This framework is the result of tough, principled diplomacy. It's a good deal, a deal that meets our core objectives, including strict limitations on Iran's program and cutting off every pathway that Iran could take to develop a nuclear weapon.
But skeptics point out that the current parameters would see Iran retain thousands of uranium enrichment centrifuges while giving Tehran a free pass on suspected weaponization research. Opponents also claim that the so-called sunset clause, limiting the deal to a decade, at most 15 years, will provide Iran with carte blanche once the agreement expires. An old adage seemingly applies. The devil is in the details. And thus far, much remains unanswered.
So, Tal, we'll begin with you this morning. Obviously, Israel is trying to thwart a deal as much as it can, but it's also trying to improve it, and it released a list of improvements that it suggests for this agreement. What are they?
Well, there are a few, there will be a few talking points that will be recurring in the upcoming weeks. Questions that are being asked today in the public debate in the United States and in other places in the world about the pace of lifting sanctions, for instance, about the underground facility at Fordo, about a lot of questions that will still be coming up because this is just a framework agreement, and the gaps that still remain between the sides, they're serious, and Israel is going to use every inch of these gaps in order to consolidate its case. But the question is, can Israel do these both tracks together? Can Israel work against the deal in Congress as it is doing in full power ahead of the Congress coming back from recess next week? And can it at the same time maintain some kind of dialogue with the White House? It seems, at least judging from the past few days, that this dialogue between Obama and Netanyahu has not been restored yet, if it can be restored. And how will these two dual tracks implicate each other? And what will be the implications of the Congress track on the White House cooperation with Israel? We do understand from American officials that there is a sense of maybe a change of tone coming out from Israeli officials. They do understand maybe a more positive tone talking about improving the deal. But at the same time, when Netanyahu and his ambassador to Washington are actively working on Congress in order to derail the deal, this will come to some kind of conflict at some point or another.
So, Arad, when Tal says they're actively working on Congress, what exactly is happening behind the scenes here to get congressmen on the Israeli side to support this Republican bill?
There's no need to go behind the scene. What's in front, on stage is quite obvious. Prime Minister Netanyahu is doing whatever is in his power to correct the deal or even to stop the deal from going ahead. And unfortunately, he's not doing it by discussing the deal or the drawbacks of the deal as he sees them with the President of the United States. He does it behind his back or over his head by talking to the media, by talking to congressmen. Recently, in the last 24 hours, I think that there's a little change in the parameters within the Congress, where some Democrat senators are going back to side with the Republicans in order to demand 60 days for the Congress to go over the deal before it is being signed. This is very much supported or even generated by Prime Minister Netanyahu, and this is how he's working, and people who are close to him tell me that that's his main aim. He doesn't want to do it in a eye-to-eye discussion with the president, although they claim this possibility does exist. They want to generate a public debate within the United States, which, according to their perspective, would be the best way to improve the deal.
And we will get back to these details later, but we want to hear something that Obama said regarding the recognition of Israel. Let's hear.
The notion that we would condition Iran not getting nuclear weapons in a verifiable deal on Iran recognizing Israel is really akin to saying that we won't sign a deal unless the nature of the Iranian regime completely transforms. And that is, I think, a fundamental misjudgment.
Well, Netanyahu's demand that the final deal would include an Iranian recognition of Israel was voiced on Friday, but I have to notice that on Sunday, when he went on the Sunday morning shows, on his media rounds, on his media blitz, he did not reiterate this demand. So it might not be that he could have himself understood that this is an unrealistic demand. This demand was immediately actually brushed off in Washington by the State Department as unrealistic, as irrelevant. It is peculiar, as one American official said. For years, Netanyahu has been trying and lobbying to make the Iranian problem, the Iranian nuclear program, a world problem. So why bring it back to being an Israeli problem while putting in this Israeli clause? But Netanyahu, this is all part of Netanyahu's effort to rally behind him the public opinion in the states. But it's true. But I don't think there was a big surprise from Obama's answer that this is an unrealistic demand.
And it won't be part of any nuclear deal. Now, Ali, where are the Iranians in this? Because they're not being very vocal with regard to the rift between the U.S. and Israel, because it serves their interests that they're having these issues, doesn't it?
Of course, the Iranians are now, especially the team that negotiated in Lausanne, is busy with trying to stop the criticism inside Iran from the conservative wing in the Iranian leadership that is criticizing the agreement, that is describing the agreement as something that erased the Iranian dignity, and of course is preventing Iran from any chance in the future to have a nuclear arm. We are seeing that Benjamin Netanyahu is going from an American studio to another American studio, and this is what is doing the Iranian Foreign Minister Jawad Zarif, who is talking to the smallest Iranian paper as the biggest Iranian newspaper, to trying to protect this agreement, backed by a very large popular support that is willing to see this agreement already signed in June. And Meredith, I think the Iranian are choosing the good way not to intervene in an Israeli-American difference. They are trying to have some profit, but they are following from very close any impact of this Israel vocal campaign that aimed to change what was agreed upon in Lausanne. And it is very interesting to see that the analysis that the Iranians are giving in their media to the agreement and to the items that were somehow in difference in disagreement with the international community. They are, of course, giving their angle and their analysis to the agreement in order to stop the criticism from the conservatives.
I have to say that there is, I think, in my opinion, there is an absence of voices coming out from other members of the P5+1 trying to defend this agreement. This has become a primarily U.S. battle to sell this agreement. We do not hear the Brits, they have an election to talk about, or the French really discussing this deal. And I think in many ways that would be perspectives that would be very interesting to hear and would actually add to this public debate. The fact that it's turned into maybe a bipartisan or bipartisan battle between Netanyahu and Obama, the battle on Congress, the battle over 13 Democratic senators, it kind of takes out, we do not have the full perspective. We're hearing the Iranian version, we're hearing the American version, we're hearing the Israeli version, but were there another 5 members there on the P5+1 that we're not hearing? And in many ways, I think this we're missing out in this debate and this whole discussion.
And on the same breath, Prime Minister Netanyahu is not trying to approach the other members of the P5+1. He's approaching only the Americans and not the Americans who negotiate, but as we discussed earlier, the American public opinion and Congress.
And, I just want to end on that note that Tal mentioned of these 13 Democratic senators that really hold the weight with regard to this bill proposed by Senator Bob Corker. So Senator Schumer he's Democrat, and he holds a lot of weight, and he's putting his support behind this bill. So what is the likelihood that enough Democratic senators will be behind this bill?
Well, this still remains to be seen, but we see a trend towards accepting the Corker's proposal, whereas after Netanyahu's speech to Congress, we saw that the Democrats were retracting. Now, as Chuck Schumer is for this deal again, for this proposal actually, it seems that many more Democrats will join him, and the legislation is about to get the 2/3 majority it needs in order to overcome a presidential veto.
I see. Well, so from moving to the U.S., we're going now to Iran, where the Turkish President Erdogan has paid an official visit there. Let's hear more about it.
Iran is trying to dominate the region. They are in preparation for it. Can this be allowed? This has begun annoying Turkey, Saudi Arabia, and the Gulf countries. This is really not tolerable, and Iran has to see this.
This unequivocal, unwavering, and maybe above all unprecedented statement by Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan was made only 2 weeks ago, and in its shadow, he landed Tuesday in Tehran for a series of high-level meetings with Iranian leaders. This latest extreme statement was indeed irregular, but the relations between the countries have long been complicated. On the one hand, Tehran and Ankara have strong economic ties, as Turkey heavily relies on important energy from Iran. But on the diplomatic level, especially in recent years, there were many strains, particularly sharp disagreements over how to resolve the civil war in neighboring Syria. Tensions rose in the past few months with Iran's increasing involvement in the region's insurgencies.
Iran should change its stance. They should withdraw all their forces from Yemen as well as Syria and Iraq. Iran should respect the territorial integrity of these countries.
Erdogan also appears to be getting closer to Sunni leaders, traditional foes of the Shiite Islamic Republic, including Iran's nemesis, Saudi Arabia. Even though Turkey is not an active participant in the Saudi attack in Yemen, according to reports, Ankara provides the coalition with intelligence. Reports further indicated a renewed connection between Erdogan and his longtime arch-rival, Egyptian President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi. Even the latest success of the Iranian nuclear talks hit a sore spot for Turkey after a joint Turkish-Brazilian bid in 2010 to settle the Iranian nuclear crisis was pushed aside as Washington began talking directly to Tehran. In the meantime, in the Iranian capital, 65 lawmakers have sent a letter to Rouhani asking him to urge Erdogan to apologize for his accusations during his already highly charged visit.
So, Iran, why would Erdogan visit Tehran at such a tense time? Or what are some of the ulterior motives here?
Firstly, it's a coincidence. This visit was pre-planned long in advance. After it was planned, there has been a vociferous, I'd say, dispute between Erdogan and Rouhani regarding Iran's involvement in Yemen. And apparently they decided to go ahead with the visit, even though there were many voices in Iran calling the Iranian government to cancel it. Now, what is Erdogan aiming at? His aim here is in the same pattern he acts towards Israel, believe it or not. And let me clarify. Iran is a very important trade partner for Turkey, and Turkey is a very important trade partner for Iran. Turkey depends on the Iranian gas. Iran is Turkey's second largest supplier of natural gas for heating and energy. And Turkey is the most important bypass for Iran's economy to overcome current sanctions, international sanctions. So Erdogan puts trade relations on one side and the other interests on the other side. And at the moment, you know, if you're talking the trade exchange between Israel and Turkey is about 5 billion, just over 5 billion US dollars a year. The trade exchange between Turkey and Iran at the moment is about 14 billion US dollars per annum. And they are the main target of this visit was to double it and to make it, to give the proper infrastructure for it to reach 30 billion US dollars per annum, and to lower the cost of the gas, of the Iranian gas that is being exported to Turkey.
So as you're saying, so Erdogan here, obviously financial interests, or trade interests rather, trump national, regional security interests then?
No, the security causes and the political issues were on the table, Meredith, but as Arad said, the Turkish managed to separate the financial, economical interests from the political and regional differences with Iran. A day before President Erdogan went to Tehran, there was a very interesting and non-planned visit to Turkey of Hamad bin Naif, the number 3 in the Saudi regime, and maybe the strongest person in the regime, to discuss the visit, to send the messages from the Arab coalition, from the Gulf states to Iran via Turkey. And this shows the rule and power and way that Turkey can have until the Syrian crisis. Turkey and Iran, like, we're dividing the regional cake, the Middle East between Turkey and between Iran. And the Syrian cases show how deep were the differences in the visions of two religious leaderships, the Iranian Shiite one and the Turkey Sunnite one. And Erdogan, when criticizing the Iranian rule, was trying once again to classify Turkey at the head of the Sunnite world, which some Sunnite Arab countries did not appreciate in the past years. But Turkey, as Arad said, is a very important gate to Iran, to the world, to the Iranian economy, but also is seeking to play a major role in the Middle East conflict. It is true that Yemen was the most important case, but of course the Iraqi issue was there, the Syrian issue was there, and just to mention how pragmatic this Turkish leadership, that here we in Israel, we tend not to see, for example, if we say that the Turkish are so hostile to any kind of Kurd autonomy or Kurd independence, Turkey is the biggest partner of Iraqi Kurdistan in the trade and in doing business with the Kurds in Iraq, which means that Erdogan say that his strong ticket to the Turkish public opinion is the economy and finance, and he's doing well, even with some regimes or some groups that he is not estimating, like the Iranian and the Kurds.
Well, let's focus now on Yemen, where the conflict rages on, and aid groups paint a grim picture of conditions on the ground, with the Red Cross describing the situation in the southern city of Aden as catastrophic, and Doctors Without Borders saying it was worsening by the day, with wounded people unable to get to hospital because of the fighting. Let's listen to some of the figures of the conflict delivered by the World Health Organization, and we'll take it from there.
More than 540 people, 540, have been killed and some 1,700 others wounded by the violence in Yemen since 19 March.
The latest number we have, 74 children are known to have been killed and 44 children maimed so far since the fighting began on 26 March. But we say we are aware that these are conservative figures, and we believe that the total number of children killed is much higher.
And joining now the conversation via Skype is Belkis Wili, a Yemen researcher for Human Rights Watch. Thank you very much for being with us, Belkis. So what is the situation on the ground in some of the flashpoint areas of fighting?
Thanks so much for having me. I guess I would highlight first that, of course, the coalition strikes are ongoing. There were more strikes yesterday in Aden. There have been more strikes across the country. And we're seeing, as a result of those strikes, as you mentioned, deaths of civilians. Some cities are being called ghost cities right now because a lot of families have left the cities that are being targeted by the strikes. So you've got basically empty streets. At the same time, on the ground, you've got fighting between the Houthis and different groups standing up against them. For the most part, Sunni militia groups, what are called popular committees, and then a few units still of the military that are standing by President Hadi, who of course is in Saudi Arabia and supporting the coalition strikes. We have severe concerns about the humanitarian situation, as does the ICRC and MSF. Thankfully, the coalition allowed in aid. In the last 24 hours, a plane was able to come to Sana'a. Aid was able to come through the Saudi border to the north, and then ships were able to come with aid. The key question is, will the coalition allow aid to continue coming in? That's absolutely vital. We don't want to see an uptick in civilian casualties, not directly because of the fighting, but because they're not getting the aid that they need. There's also a severe shortage of water. A lot of water systems have been damaged during the fighting, and we're hearing concerns that because of the damaged water and the damaged sewage system, there might be an increase in diseases coming from that and coming from people drinking unclean water.
And, you know, there are concerns that this will turn into a full-blown civil war. Do you think this is inevitable, or can it be avoided?
I think that the coalition is trying to, so to speak, bomb the Houthis back to the negotiating table. The real question is that possible? Will the Houthis be willing to pull back from the hostilities and come to a negotiating table? If they will, potentially one could see a negotiated outcome. That being said, I think it's unlikely. I mean, the Houthis are sticking their heels in.
Right.
They keep fighting and keep gaining territorially as the strikes continue. So it's hard to see the hostilities ending anytime soon.
I see. Well, I do stay on the line, but Arad, we know that Houthis are on the border with Saudi Arabia. So does this have any risk of spilling over?
I can't see it spilling over into Saudi Arabia because Saudi Arabia has, quite capable army, right. And they are trying to move the conflict from their borders into Yemen. But taking into account, Meredith, what is happening nowadays in Yemen, I can't refrain from saying that it seems that we see Syria.2, a second version, a repetition of the breakout or the implosion that we've been talking about of the state. Yemen is torn apart. The Saudis are helping to cut it or to fragment it, at least from north to south. We've seen the pictures yesterday on TV footage of the bombardments of the bridges that connects the northern part of the country to the southern part of the party, and this country is being torn apart, many separate regions with their own leadership and opposition and bloodshed. Well, we can not use any other term but Syria.2.
Yeah, I was going to say you can certainly draw a lot of parallels. So is this going to take a really long time to solve, Ali?
It is apparently, Meredith, and as Arad exactly said, the Syrian scenario is much more probable and possible than a reconciliation between the parties in Yemen. And we should pay attention that it is true that the Saudis are bombarding, and according to what they say, at the demand of the Yemenite President Abd Rabbu Mansour Hadi, but even the parties in Yemen who are hostile to the Houthis are condemning the Saudis' bombardment, and they are accusing the Houthis that their tyranny and their dictatorship brought a foreign intervention, which means that every possibility of a ground operation led by the Saudis or the Arab coalition is practically not possible because of the fact that all the Yemenites are against this foreign intervention. And I think that the Houthis, with their allies, the forces of former President Ali Abdullah Saleh, have the interest now to try to pull Saudi Arabia inside Yemen, and this is what exactly the Saudis are not willing to do. This is why, and this fight will go longer.
You're predicting it will be a long way. Well, thank you very much, Ali, for being here, Arad as well, and Belkis, thank you for joining us as well. Now, coming up next, as the world marks International Roma Day, we learn about the local community in Israel. But first, let's hear some more of this morning's headlines. Welcome back. Let's say hello and good morning to I-24 News editor Ron Friedman, who joins us to discuss the news you missed while scanning the headlines.
Hi,
good morning, Ron. So what do you have for us today?
April 7th is come and gone, and the promised cyber holocaust that was supposed to be attacking Israel yesterday kind of fizzled out. Wasn't exactly what was promised. So the headline from Haaretz: anti-Israel cyber attack, a far cry for promised electronic holocaust. So ahead of this planned attack, anonymous hackers promised, "We will erase you from cyberspace as we have every year. The 7th of April 2015 will be an electronic holocaust." Well, not exactly. What actually happened was some websites were hacked into. We're talking about some celebrity websites, a couple of government websites, but far cry from anything resembling a Holocaust. We're talking about this has become an annual thing by pro-Palestinian hacktivists, all working under the name of Anonymous. It's been going on for 2 years, since 2013. We had the war in Gaza, and they've been trying to target Israeli internet sites, websites, government stuff. But it appears that these aren't like hardcore hackers, that pose any kind of danger, and Israel is well prepared. They've got the know-how, the cyber
right. I mean,
warfare.
I was going to say, it's quite a feat to try to tackle hacking here in Israel.
Right.
It's such a technology hub.
And it's not only that, also, like, people, we had advance warning of it, so people were prepared, volunteered to try to ward off these attacks. Anyways, that came and went. Next up, I can't say this. I wish this couldn't have happened to a better group of people. We're talking about ISIS fighters hit by a dedeadly flesh-eating disease. Yes.
I mean, you wonder if karma's at work here.
Totally. Somebody's looking out for us. We're talking about militants from Islamic State, well known for their public beheadings, crucifixion, brutality all over the Middle East. So there's a bunch of them, like we're talking about several thousands in the Syrian city of Raqqa, suffering from a disease known as, let me get this right, leishmaniasis. And
you said it better than I can.
It sounds pretty terrible.
Yeah.
We're talking about large open wounds. They eat flesh. Charming stuff.
Good morning, Leishmaniasis.
It's actually spread by parasites, by some type of sandfly, and because of poor hygiene, this is spreading over in Syria.
Probably lack of medical supplies as well, medical infrastructure.
Right.
So.
And these people are in combat zones. Anyways, couldn't have happened to a better group of people. Next up, we've got a big announcement from the U.S. Senator Rand Paul announced yesterday that he was going to run for president. The Kentucky senator, a relative newcomer in Washington, is thrown his hat in. He's the son of a longtime presidential candidate Ron Paul, and he's like from the far right of the Republican Party, connected to the Tea Party. He's only the second person to officially submit his bid for office.
After second Republican.
Right, second Republican. We know that on the Democratic side, Hillary Clinton is the front runner for now, but he joins Ted Cruz, and we're expecting more people to jump on the wagon in the next coming day, talking about Rubio, Chris Christie, a bunch of other names, and it's going to be an interesting race looking ahead to 2016.
Yeah, so one more I think we have time for.
Okay, last one. Power outage in Washington, D.C. Affected, so we're talking about a blackout, brownout because of an equipment failure in a power station there. As you can see in the photo there, we have the State Department spokesperson.
I was going to say, is that Marie Hart with an iPhone light? Oh my goodness.
Yes, so there was a bad power outage, and she had to deliver her daily briefing in the dark. She doesn't look too happy. There was an initial talk of it being a terror attack, but it turned out it was just an equipment failure at the power station.
It happens,
It
even happens in Washington.
It happens live, as you can see during press conferences
U.S.
there.
State Department spokespeople. Yeah, no one's safe from electricity outages.
Fine.
Okay, well that's all we have time for, unfortunately. But thank you very much, Ron, for being with us. And moving on, today is International Roma Day, a day dedicated to celebrating the ethnic group's rich culture and heritage. The day was officially declared in 1990 and aims to raise awareness of the issues the community of roughly 14 million people worldwide faces. Located mostly in Eastern Europe and dispersed throughout the globe, many Roma face severe discrimination resulting from long-held prejudices and stereotypes. In recent years, states have adopted specific strategies for the inclusion of Roma minorities, but these have had only marginal success as anti-Roma remains rampant in many countries. Let's take a look at the following report, which provides some insight into one of the Roma communities, and continue from there.
The unusual methods of a Roma mayor have turned life around for the people of Cerdi, a village in southwest Hungary where more than half of the 430 inhabitants are also Roma. Since his election in 2006, Laszlo Bogdan has set out to battle poverty by a series of regional projects, like this farming cooperative that gives full-time employment to 73 people, growing vegetables on formerly unused communal land.
Mondták nekem a szkeptikus emberek, amikor ennek nekiálltam, hogy itt akkor lesz paradicsom, hogyha elmegyek a Tesco-ba és behordom.
People here didn't believe in this project. They used to say if you want tomatoes or peppers, you go and buy them in the grocery. A year later, we're considered as the best producers on the market in the area with the best produce and the friendliest grocers.
Választottak minket a legjobb beszállítónak, a legszebb terméknek és a legkedvesebb kategóriába. 3 cigányt.
Before Bogdan's election, 98% of the population in Chadi was unemployed, and 600 crimes were registered every year. Now everyone has a job and gets 200 euros per month, which is 3 times more than the dough. Hungarian media have already dubbed the transformation the miracle of Chadi.
It was a complete disaster here before. There were bars on office windows to protect them against the constant burglaries. These bars are gone now. We don't have to fear anymore. People have changed completely. They live a normal life now. Get up in the morning, go to work, come back in the evening.
Laszlo showed us that if we work hard, we can do it, that we can't make a living with the unemployment or welfare money, but only work can save us.
To get here, Bogdan had to battle with traditional anti-Roma prejudice that is still rife in Hungary, to show that his people can improve if given a chance. To discipline his community, the mayor records their incomes and expenses on large sheets of paper hanging in his office.
Folyton képesek vagyunk mi cigányok másokra mutogatni és másokra ráutaló magatartással kenyeret kérni.
Gypsies have the tendency to blame somebody else and to ask for bread from somebody else. I'm not a fan of this life strategy where we always hold our hand up and wait for somebody else to put everything inside. I want to change this, so that's why I check some of the residents' rubbish and oversee their income, no matter if I have the right to do it or not.
Centem el a kukákat, ezért figyelem, hogy milyen bevétel van, milyen kiadás van. Hogy van ehhez jogom, vagy nincs, ez most ma nem fontos.
Along with the socio-economic transformation of his village, Bogdan seeks to fight the common stereotypes where Roma are seen as burglars and criminals. Thanks to his initiatives, the people of Chadi now enjoy the fruit of their own labor and have also got their dignity back.
And we are now joined in the studio by Amun Saleem, director of the Damari Society of Gypsies in Jerusalem and the author of A Gypsy Dreaming in Jerusalem. Thank you very much for being with us. So as we saw in this report, many people think of the Roma community and they think of Europe, but they'd be surprised to learn that there are Romas in Israel.
Definitely. First of all, I want to wish all the gypsies over the world happy International Roma Day. And back to the gypsies in Jerusalem and the gypsies in Middle East, you have many gypsies living in Middle East, and they come from the same tribe I come from. It's called Dom people, and they're based in all the Arab countries around Israel and Palestine.
So how did they get to these Arab countries?
Actually, originally we come from India 3,000 years ago, and we based in Middle East from that time. Originally the years that Gypsy live here, more than 500 years.
So Gypsies have probably been in this region even longer than Europe, because Europe is farther and they had to travel.
No, but actually when they travel from India, they cut to 2 groups in that time, and one group they went to Europe and now they call themselves Roma, and the other group went to the Middle East and they call themselves Dom people. So the same type and the same language that I belong to.
So the community, is it just in Jerusalem, or are there also
No.
in all
We
parts
have
of Israel?
the gypsies living in all the country. You have in Gaza Strip, you have around 8,000 to 10,000 gypsies living there. You have in West Bank.
This is a surprising figure.
You have in the West Bank. In Gaza Strip, they live also on the border of Al Arish, because most of them they are musicians. The ones who live in West Bank in different villages, you have many small communities living there. Inside the old city, in that time, in the long time ago, they call it Gypsy area. In that time, like Lionsgate and Bab Khutta area, it was the area of the Gypsies. And, in different small places here and there in the whole country.
And as the report mentioned, and is widely known, the prejudice against Gypsies around the world is just a recurring issue. Now, what kind of challenges do they face here in Israel and in the West Bank and Gaza?
I want to be honest with you. I think the Gypsies' life has never changed. From region till now, it's the same discriminating. It's continue. From in this land, we living in between Palestinian and between Israeli. For Palestinian, we are Gypsies. They know that we are Gypsies, and they look to you that look. For Israeli, we look like Palestinian. They think we are Palestinian. So you are in the middle. So both people look to you in differently eyes.
And what about children? Because I know in Europe, school children face a lot of prejudice in the school system, and a lot of time drop out of school and don't get an education because of it. Is this also happening here?
Yeah, still continue. For instance, I was one of the child that I was dropped out from the school in early age because they discriminated from my head of the school. She every day she was really like punish us because we were gypsy children. So I ran away from that school for 2 years, and I decided not coming back to that school. And that was the reason, like discriminated, you know. And
what do you
still
mean by discriminate? She would just target you out.
She was target a group of gypsy children. They were in that time, so we were like 8 to 9 girls. You know, it was like a girls' school, and this woman have a problem with the gypsy. So she was every day calling us in the front of the whole, you know, whole school and. Dirty gypsy, bad gypsy, you know.
Humiliating you.
Yeah, exactly. So you became, how can I say it, like you feel like you don't belong to this school. And as a child, you are not strong at that time to understand why this woman is punish you. So we drop out from that, I dropped out for 2 years.
And what did you do then? What do you do when you're a child and you drop out of school?
You know, it was in one time I can say it was good and bad. First of all, I built myself in that age, you know, you can say, became strong and learning English from tourists in very early age, you know, selling postcards in that time in the street.
This is what you were doing?
Yeah, because I live inside the Lionsgate area, where is tourist area.
Yes, very touristy.
Yeah, so I was like, been there, and, you know, my mind is start to change a little bit, and I think with education, you know, and with a school, I can reach my dream. So in that time, it's given me a push that I have to go back to this woman, even she punished me, and I have to finish that school because this is the only school in the old city. I have to cross it. If I don't cross it, I will not pass. So
is it because of these kind of experiences that you decided to write your book?
Absolutely, and plus, not only writing my book, to work for my people. Even though I am a woman, it will be very difficult from my community because the mentality of my group, it will be very difficult for women to work for her community. Plus, you know, I know that I will face two communities. I live among the Israeli and the Palestinian, and both sides, they look for the Gypsy in different eye. In meantime, my main focus was my community, that I have to do something. And I believe with my grandmother saying, she was my teacher, that nobody cracks your skin except yourself. So you have to crash and you have to do something for your community.
So what is your organization doing within the Roma community?
First of all, you know, it's give a push for people and you know, and address for people the gypsies exist in the Holy Land. First of all, we build the gypsy culture again, that we are fine, we are part of Palestinian society, but we are gypsies, you know, and we are culture. People have to accept that culture, you know. They like it or they don't like it. It's culture been exist in the Holy Land for 500 years, and you have to accept it. So we promote the gypsy culture. We bring the tradition back, you know, like gypsies, they give up on many things to let people accept them. Like even the Roma name. Gypsy give up on gypsy name and replace it with Roma name just to make the world accept them. So I still refuse that and use gypsy word. I feel it is romantic, a beautiful name, and people should accept it, you know. They like it or they don't like it, it's their problem. Second of all, you know, we try in the Gypsy Center to bring education in the society because we think the main problem of the society is the education. So we focus on the new generation and women. So we give children a lot of education, like English, Arabic, different subjects that they can learn, and they can really not give reason to drop out from the school in early age. And the women, we give them different skills that they can really, from there, they can, you know, try to find job or try to, you know, to build themselves, like to build the bridges inside themselves.
Well, it sounds like you really have important work that you're doing.
Absolutely,
there,
absolutely.
That you established this organization for this community. It was really interesting having you here, and thank you very much for being here.
Thank you so much.
And coming up next, a modern-day nomad returns from a decade-long trip around the world. But first, let's hear some more of this morning's headlines. Welcome back. It's still Wednesday, April 8th, 2015. This is still the morning edition. Thank you for staying with us. Our previous item spoke about the plights of the Roma people, but our next guest is a modern-day nomad. I'd like to welcome to the studio Globetrotter travel writer and philanthropist Peleg Cohen. Good morning, Peleg. Thank you very much for being with us. So you just recently returned to Israel after a decade of traveling to 110 different countries?
Yes.
That's amazing.
Yes, but I'm only here for a visit.
You're only here for a visit?
Yes, 1 month visiting the family, doing Passover, and after that I'm hoping to fly to Kazakhstan.
Okay, so we'll hear some more about your travels, but we're going to see a clip from your video journal right here.
Perfect. I prefer to collect memories rather than things. My bag is my home. I never had a real job. I never had a car. I never had a house. I never even went to university. My education, I got from the road. And my inspiration is from the people I meet. I'm amazed by the power of the global community. Through the internet, I met people on couchsurfing, I made friends, and I even created my own network. At the moment, thousands of people around the world are following Lonely Peleg Facebook page.
Okay, so we just heard some more about you. I mean, I think what really sticks out to me with your story is that it's just people, it's something that people would love to do with their lives. They just don't have the guts to do it. So what gave you the guts to travel and just go day by day?
I think it's a big thing in Israel to go travel after the army. You know, we all been to the army and we all go travel. And then I did it as well. I flew to Asia and I spent there 3 months and I ran out of money, but I didn't want to stop traveling. I love the people I met. I love everything I did. So I went to Australia with $80 in my pocket, walked a bit, lived like in a small room, saved some money, flew to New Zealand. And then I started to realize it's quite easy actually to do it, that you can just walk a bit along the way, stay with friends, hitchhike, sleep in the beach, you know, in your tent on the beach. And then I said, okay, it's a price I'm willing to pay. I'm willing to walk a bit. I'm willing to stay with friends. I'm willing not to have my own stuff. I'm willing not to consume.
Right.
And actually to enjoy the beautiful world we have and the people inside of it.
And when you say you worked, I mean, is there an issue there, like legally sometimes, working in countries without a visa necessarily? I think this is what stops many people. What makes them go home is when they run out of money, they just don't know how to move forward.
I did it, the first time I did it was in 2005, so I think things was a bit differently. In the past couple of years, everything I did was legally. Like I worked as a hotel manager in South Africa, and now I'm doing my lectures. This is how I make my money, and through my blog, through my photography. So you need to find a way. So in the beginning, maybe you need to do a bit of other stuff. That's not the easier things to find to do. But I really believe if you're doing what you love, you're going to find a way. So I found a way, and I'm sure everybody can find his own way. I'm not lecturing also on go and travel the world or do what you love. It doesn't matter what it is. Just go and do it and love it. And if you work hard enough, I really believe you're going to make money out of it.
And you have over 20,000 likes on your Facebook page. How did you get that much traction?
I think because I've been the first Israeli that actually was on the road for so long. Like 10 years on the road is not something you see a lot. And then just, you know, people like what I did. I was like, you know, hitchhiking through West Africa. I did a Trans-Siberian Railway. I did like, you know, a lot of stuff that people doesn't do. I came out with crazy photos, and then people are like, wow, that's cool. Like, I want to see what he's doing. I want to see why he's doing it. And I think this is why people are so attracted to it.
And I heard it in West Africa. You said that you almost died so many times. I mean, why didn't that stop you just returning home? You kept going.
Yes. I had malaria and typhoid together.
Oh, my goodness.
Yes, so that was really, really bad, actually. Yeah. I was in a hospital for a couple of days, like horrible hospital, no treatment whatsoever, people dying around you all the time.
Oh, my gosh.
But yeah, I went through it, and I decided I want to keep on going.
You got the genuine experience. Now, all of your travels have really inspired you to work with people and you know, work in the humanitarian field. So tell us about the work that you're doing now.
So it all started actually from my 100th country, the Philippines. So I spoke with my mom on the phone, and she's like, "I'm so proud of you. You know, you made your dream. It took you 9 years to do it, but now you need to find a new dream." And I was like, yeah, you're right. I will look for something. And then I went to the Bet Chabad in the Philippines, and I met 3 young guys that are the owner of Modani Furniture Company from the US.
In the US company,
And they're like, wow, it's really cool the way you live your life, but why you do it? I was like, because I like to travel and because I like to help people. You know, I stayed on the side of the road, I sleep on villages, and I take their photos, I share their stories, and this is how I could help them. And they're like, that sounds really amazing. Maybe we're going to give you a big amount of money, and you can actually make project. You can actually help more. And I was,
just like that?
Just like that.
We're going to give you money?
Yes, like they said they want to donate money, but they don't want to do it online. They don't want to give it to a big company that the money will go to salaries and corruption and whatever.
Right.
We're going to give it to you, and then we know 100% of the donation go to the kids. We know that the girl Jane, the money went to her. It's much more personal for them also to donate this way. And I said, of course, that's amazing. And the same week I moved into Smoky Mountain, that it's a dump site in the Philippines.
Okay.
2,000 kids, 700 family, no healthcare, no electricity, no water, nothing. There is a local organization called Young Focus that's working there. And actually, together with them, we start a tour project for the kids there.
And I think we're seeing clips of this here on the screen. You can just see the situation there.
Yeah, it's really, really bad. But beautiful people, really, I really enjoyed it, and I lived there for 3 weeks. And what we did actually was sponsoring meals for 6 months. And the meals they got in school, and to come to school they have to shower, so we're getting their hygiene, their food, and their education. And actually we sponsored it for 6 months, and with this video clip that you're seeing, the local organization Young Focus are actually still funding money around the world, so they don't need our help anymore. And then I went to Korea, and we helped there with the first Jewish restaurant, the kosher restaurant. In Japan, I was visiting prisoners. In Ukraine during the war, I volunteered with the orphanage. And then together with the architecture from Berlin, I just came back from Cameroon building a school.
Wow. And I want to get a little personal, because you said you had a conversation with your mother, and she's so supportive.
Yes.
And it's interesting because parents in Israel tend to be very clingy. And they tend to, okay, go after the army, travel, enjoy yourself, but come home. So this isn't necessarily a normal situation. Your parents are incredibly supportive of you being away most of the time. That must not be easy for them.
No, but I have the best family ever.
Yeah.
Like, I have great parents, I have a supporting mom, twin sister, big sister. Everybody's like, as long as you are happy, we feel that you are happy, I'm behind you. Like my mom always said, obviously I want you here, but you're doing your thing, I'm proud of you, I'm here for you, whatever you need.
So what projects do you hope to fulfill in the future? Are there any other places that you've been that you said, I want to help those people?
I definitely want to go back to Smoky Mountain. Like, I feel I haven't done enough there, so I really want to go there. And then Kazakhstan, it's a place I want to go now in May. And next summer, I'm hoping to go to Central South America. When I was traveling there in 2007, I saw horrible things. Not horrible, but like very...
Poverty.
Yeah, exactly. And I really want to help there. So this is why I'm also now going and trying to find a new sponsoring, that actually a new company that be willing to go into this adventure with me and donate some money and said, yes, we are behind you, and we want to also donate to the things you're doing around the world and try and make people come and volunteer with me. That's the important part, I think.
So final question, Peleg,
Yes.
do you think you'll ever settle down?
I don't know. It's not an issue for me. I want to be happy, and as long as I'm happy, I will do what I want to do.
And what makes you happy is traveling and experiencing the world and helping people.
Right now, yes.
Well, thank you very much for being here. This was great.
Thank you for having me.
And now let's say hello and good morning to I-24 News correspondent Tal Heinrich, who is here to bring us our web review. Good morning, Tal.
Yes, good morning. Do you feel more inspired or
I really
jealous
do.
now? I don't know. I'm like in between.
I have
right?
a very relaxed, good, happy feeling after speaking with Peleg, to be honest. Yeah, I feel great.
You want to do something good.
I wanna
Go out
travel.
and do something good for the world.
Exactly.
Yeah. So let's start with the spiral viral. The White House was celebrating Easter, the annual Easter egg roll. So they basically invite parents and children for the egg hunt.
Right.
It's at the White House lawn, exactly. And there were some celebrity appearances. Caroline Wozniacki, if you know her, she's a Danish tennis player. She's ranked 5 ATP right now. I actually interviewed her when she was the first in the world.
Really?
Yes, it was a few years ago when she came here to Israel for the Federation tournament.
So you have a
anyway, I
special
had to
connection
mention
with
this.
her.
Exactly. So President Obama, he played tennis against her. I don't know who won it, but...
Was she light on him? I would hope so.
I don't know. But Michelle danced, and he was also playing basketball along with some Washington Wizards.
Oh, yeah.
Some Washington Wizards players, John Wall and Paul Pierce and Michelle.
Well, it's always like a family fun kind of day.
It is, but this year, I don't know if it's every year, this year it was aimed at promoting more active, healthy lifestyles among Americans. So.
Yeah, well, this is Michelle Obama's main thing. She's
always,
really into healthy living,
Is
eating
it
right,
actually?
moving. I mean, she's really into it
She's
all,
a good
so.
dancer.
Oh yeah. I mean,
She's
we've
a
seen her
great
moves
dancer.
on Jimmy Fallon.
And
Did you see that?
Ellen, I think it was Ellen DeGeneres also.
Yep.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
And now
Very
to a
cool.
very funny story, which is called a penis festival.
What?
Yes, apparently. Remember when we were sitting here like 3 days ago with the American-Palestinian director, the Palestinian Woody Allen, and he said this words. He mentioned this word so many times.
So we're staying with the penis theme.
Yeah, exactly. We're sticking with the same line. So, but apparently there is such a thing in Japan, in Kawasaki. It's an annual event. It's a crazy tradition going back to the 17th century. And yes, it's supposed to celebrate the man's fertility.
Okay.
And but it has a very interesting story behind it. It's a tradition. It's a tale. So in the 17th century, it started because there was a tale about some sharp-toothed demon that he fell in love. Seriously, he fell in love. I'm just reading it. You know, it's all real.
Okay, Tal. I'm staying with you.
Japanese stories. So this demon, he had like this sharp tooth, and he fell in love with a beautiful woman, and he started robbing her subsequent lovers of their pride and joy in horrific ways. And then a man, some local man, he forged steel penis, and then he broke the demon's tooth with this steel penis, and then
so it's like a liberation symbol.
It's a
okay against demons.
Yeah. I don't know.
It doesn't really look like
that's the day. I'm just
child-friendly event. It's kind of an R-rated.
Yeah, and it takes place in a shrine called I can't find it at the moment.
This is hysterical.
But
I mean, I'm looking at this footage, and these nice-looking women, they're carrying this giant.
This one's crazy because it's pink. And it's supposed to be.
It's dressed as a bride.
Yeah.
I don't really know what's going on.
Actually, before there's like a black one, which is like the male one. And I don't know.
So this is
I don't know what
the
I'm
penis.
trying to
Wow,
say here.
Fascinating.
But anyway, let's.
Peleg, in your next travels to Japan, I think you need to go to this penis festival.
I will make it this and the cherry blossom.
Yeah.
I'll combine it together.
It might help you with fertility if you go to the shrine at the same time. Anyway.
Good to know. Wow.
And now our next item, we were also mentioning Game of Thrones because the season's premiere is going to be next week, I think, April 12th. So Sesame Street are already waiting on it as well. And instead of Game of Thrones, they did a funny viral video, which is called The Game of Chairs. Let's take a look.
Westeros needs a new king or queen. And to decide, we will play a game. A game of chairs.
That's very cute.
Yeah, you have to watch it, definitely.
Yeah.
And Meredith, not that you have to lose weight, but if you wanted to, do you think that looking at a picture of yourself, after a few pounds, after you lost a few pounds, would motivate you or make you feel bad? I'm just wondering.
I think it's a motivator.
It is a motivator.
You see those before and after
pictures all the time.
so.
So now there's they just launched a new app called Visualize You, and where you can actually see a slimmer version of yourself, but it's very, very accurate. I mean, as accurate as it can get, I guess. You upload the photo, and then you enter your weight, your height, and your target weight, and then it shrinks you.
So it scientifically boils you down to the smaller version of yourself.
Yeah, but it looks very natural, so I don't know.
Okay, you know what?
Apparently it motivates people.
Whatever helps, whatever helps motivate. And it's not in an offensive way, and, you're volunteering that, so okay. That's interesting.
I think.
I think we have time for one more.
Well, let's go to Russia.
Okay.
In Russia, I don't know if you got to see this, but in Russia, passengers saved a woman trapped between the train platform and the train itself. So her leg was in there, and they started tilting the train, but all at once. You have to watch it.
That's terrifying.
Yeah. but she's safe.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
so wait, her leg, she kind of fell between?
In between, and she couldn't move.
Oh my goodness.
And the train was standing there, so somebody needed to move the train and not, drive away, otherwise no leg.
Yeah. Look, people, joined together to help her. Thankfully, she's safe. That's it. Good story. Well, thank you very much, Tal, for being here. And coming up next, March Madness ends with Duke victory over Wisconsin. But first, let's hear some more of this morning's headlines. Welcome back. We're now joined in the studio by I-24 News reporter Lauren Izzo to talk about upcoming TV shows that will get you hooked. Thanks for being with us this morning.
Thank you for having me.
So what are some of these really good shows?
Okay, so the one that I have to start with is one of my childhood favorites, The Muppets. Who doesn't love The Muppets, right?
I don't think anyone doesn't like Muppets.
Right? You can't Kermit the Frog, come on.
Yeah.
So ABC is actually in talks to bring The Muppets back for a sort of variety show type of thing. And it's going to be more of an adult audience-oriented show.
Okay.
It's going to be made by the Big Bang Theory co-creator and written by Third Rock from the Sun writer.
That sounds incredible.
Should be hilarious.
What a collaboration. And you know, The Muppets can have some adult humor, so I think this will be interesting.
Miss Piggy and Kermit the Frog.
Yeah.
Quite the dynamic duo.
Totally. Like kids didn't really get that whole thing.
Right. One of my favorite shows, The Kardashians. I'm sure you've heard of what's happening with Bruce Jenner lately.
Yeah. I think you'd be sleeping under a rock if you didn't know.
Seriously. So there have been reports that 2020 is going to air a 2-hour Bruce Jenner special, an interview for him. The first time he's actually going to speak out since all these rumors started that he is becoming a woman. So that is going to be very fascinating. There are so many rumors in the media between getting breast implants to... he definitely got his Adam's apple shaved down.
Oh my goodness. I mean, you know, I watched part, I will admit, I watched part of the newest season. And he looks like he might have had lip injections. I mean, he looks like he might have had some work done. He's looking softer. Definitely more
feminine. The whole
feminine.
family gets plastic surgery, so he wouldn't really fit in if he didn't.
Exactly, but he is looking more and more feminine, which just raises more questions.
Right.
And you know, the narrative kind of plays out in the new season. He's very interested in kind of shopping with his daughters, and you know, they're kind of portraying it leading up to this interview.
Right. I mean, not that there's anything wrong with that.
No,
like, great for him for
not.
putting himself out there. And there's actually rumors also that he's filming a reality show for E! About his transformation. So
yeah, I think people at this point are just really hungry for answers.
Yes.
And there's so much talk about it, and there's all this weight is riding on this interview. Everyone wants to know what he's going to say.
Right. So it's on April 24th. I'm very excited.
Yeah,
I'm
me
definitely,
too. Let's watch that.
Definitely going to watch it. Diane Sawyer, she's amazing.
Very
Netflix has announced that House of Cards is going to be renewed for a 4th season. It's official. Do you watch House of Cards?
I do, but I'm in the middle of the 2nd season currently, so please no
That's it?
spoilers. I know.
Come on,
I know. Okay, I'll go home after this.
Is so good. Frank Underwood for president. Seriously, he should run in the next election.
Yeah, yeah, it's a really, really good show. So I'm sure a lot of fans will be happy about that.
Definitely. And how about Mad Men? Are you a Mad Men fan?
I haven't started that. Yeah,
well,
I know.
The 8th episode of the 7th season just started. It's the second half. They are starting to air it. They started 2 days ago. It aired. So let's watch the trailer for the 7th season to see what's going on there.
Great.
If there's a cure for this, I don't want it. I don't want it. If there's a remedy, I'll run from it. From it. Think about it all the time. Never let it out of my mind. I've got the sweetest hangover.
Very cool.
Don Draper is amazing.
Yeah.
Like, definitely one of my top 10 eligible bachelors on television.
But isn't it ending?
Yes, there's I think 7 or 8 episodes left in the season, but we're definitely ready for a big series finale, which is very exciting.
Yeah, I hear that they're promising a controversial finale as well. So
I mean, who knows what will happen? There have been some disappointing finales in the good shows in the last few years, so hopefully this will be a good one.
So stay tuned for Mad Men.
Definitely. Breaking Bad was one of the great series finales. I don't know if you're a Breaking Bad fan, but they actually made a spin-off, Better Call Saul.
Yep.
Which really broke so many cable television records.
Really?
Which is, they had in their premiere for the season, they had 6.9 million viewers, which is the most for a record. It's the record for a cable series premiere ever.
Wow, and it's so interesting because it's a spin-off.
Yeah.
So it really carried all those fans over to that show.
Definitely, and I think fans are just waiting to see if the characters from Breaking Bad are actually going to make reprise appearances on this series because, I mean, I think most of the viewers of Better Call Saul are Breaking Bad fans.
Yeah. So wait. So is it just Saul who's the character, the only character?
Saul is the lead character, and the character Mike from Breaking Bad. He's like his henchman in the show, and now we're just sort of starting to see the relationship build between the two of them. The finale of the first season was a few days ago. It was really good. It's really sort of carrying on with the theme of Breaking Bad, and great directing, great writing, great acting. It's been a really great show so far.
Yeah. Really cool stuff.
Yeah.
So do you have anything else for us this morning?
No, I mean.
That's all. You know what? I think we did have actually a clip for the Muppets.
Ah, did we? Okay.
Yeah. Let's have a look at that. I want to see that before we finish.
Yeah, definitely.
Let's see if we can get that clip for the Muppets. Here we go.
So, here we go. But just in case I don't survive, I want to go ahead and send out my Ice Bucket Challenge to my Muppets Most Wanted co-stars, Tina Fey, Ricky Gervais, and Ty Burrell. You guys have got 24 hours. And remember, donate to ALS. On my count. 3, 2, 1.
Well, I think that's a perfect way to finish.
Definitely.
So freezing Kermit. I did want to get to that before we finish this
course.
segment. Well, thank you very much,
Thank
Lauren,
you
for
so
being
much.
here. And we're also joined in studio by I-24 News sports reporter Michael Friedman. Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, March Madness.
March Madness, biggest tournament for college sports. All of the fans, people like me who haven't slept in about a month.
Oh my.
It's been game after game, lots of excitement. We have a good video for it.
Let's have a look.
The road to the Final Four was a long and exciting journey with upsets and tight matchups throughout the tournament. Lucas Oil Stadium, home to the NFL's Indianapolis Colts, hosted a memorable Final Four. First semifinal game presented Duke against the lower seed Michigan State, who was this year's Cinderella team, surprising many opponents along the way. Although they weren't expected to reach the Final Four, the team fought their way throughout the tournament. Michigan State came out strong early on, but the Duke Blue Devils responded with a run of their own and would go ahead the rest of the night. With big dunks and three-point shots, Duke beat Michigan State by 20 points, finishing the game 81-61. The Blue Devils then had to wait and see who they would take on in the finals. The #1 team in America, the Kentucky Wildcats, faced off against the Wisconsin Badgers. Kentucky came into the game undefeated with 38 wins and looking to become the first team ever to go 40-0. And what a battle this game was. Wisconsin tied the game at halftime, leaving everyone in their seats.
Got it! What a big shot for the Badgers at the end of the half.
Kentucky would show why they were the best team in America, leading in the second half. But then, with the game tied with under 2 minutes left, it would be Sam Decker to lay down a monster three to go ahead.
Yes!
The Badgers had then done the unthinkable and knocked off the Kentucky Wildcats, winning 71-64 to send them to the NCAA men's basketball finals.
Welcome to championship night.
The Duke Blue Devils and the Wisconsin Badgers stepped onto the court in the final showdown of the NCAA tournament. This match between two great teams was a true nail-biter. Both teams made big shots, and with 12 lead changes in the first half, the players were leaving everything on the court. Wisconsin came into the second half taking charge with their big man, Frank Kaminsky. But the Blue Devils would crawl their way back, and a huge shot by Ty Jones led them in crunch time. The game came down to the wire, with Wisconsin giving everything they had, but it would ultimately be the Duke Blue Devils to capture the 5th NCAA men's basketball championship. The team celebrated their monumental victory, and Coach K was so proud of his team.
I haven't loved the team any more than I've loved this team. And, you know, we have 8 guys, and 4 of them are freshmen. For them to win 35 games and win the national title is incredible.
While not all of the Duke fans were able to make it to Indianapolis, many of the students gathered together at Cameron Indoor Stadium in North Carolina, the home of the Blue Devils.
I dreamt about this last night, I think, actually. This was amazing. I mean, we're sitting up there among all the students, and it was electric in here. It was absolutely electric. You felt the energy. It was nuts. And just to see them win was absolutely incredible.
Duke showed great toughness in what was an inspiring championship. The players then got to cut down the net, and of course, legendary Coach K was the last man standing to hold the symbolic net. This was an epic night for those Blue Devils in what would be a sweet end to a great year for the team.
Okay, so a big win for Coach K there.
Huge win for Coach K. I'm a diehard Duke fan. My brother went to Duke. Very happy. Good result. I'm happy I stayed up all night and got the win out of it. The Blue Devils, it's an incredible win for them. Coach K, phenomenal. This is the 5th Duke NCAA championship for them with the men's basketball. Really impressive. They fought their way through a team which is a bit younger. They had 4 freshmen and a run that really could have gone either way. No one really knew who was going to be the favorites outside of Kentucky, but at the end of the day, it was a very exciting win. The finals was to the end. I was in my couch just jumping up and down when they won.
You couldn't hide it.
I couldn't hide it.
So what happened then with Kentucky, because they went undefeated? So what went wrong for them?
To go perfect is very challenging.
Yeah. Until the final.
They were 38-0, and they were looking for perfection. 40 straight wins would have been it. The last time it has happened was with 1976 Indianapolis, the Hoosiers, and it's so hard to do. You gotta tip your hats to them. They played perfect basketball throughout the year. But at the end of the day, there's only one champion, there's only one winner, but they really left everything on the floor. They're going to be disappointed, obviously. They hoped for more. They wanted that history, that legacy. But at the end of the day, Wisconsin, was so impressive. Wisconsin played them in the semifinals last year, and they were hungry. They wanted a rematch. They wanted to come back and prove that they were better.
Right.
And it was a matchup that a lot of people were excited to see. They were hoping for a semifinal just like last year. And that game as well came down to the wire. Kentucky was winning in the end, but at the end of the day, Wisconsin came back, had some big shots, and it was absolutely stunning to see.
Yeah, so we saw them last year, and we saw them this year. This is, of course, Kentucky and Wisconsin. But what about the Cinderella story that you were telling me about? What team really surprised people this year?
Every year there is a Cinderella team. Georgia State was that team that no one expected to go far. They were a 13 seed, and they were a really stunning performance throughout the tournament. Michigan State, they were a 7 seed, and it's very rarely you see a 7 seed go to the Final Four. But Michigan State's year after year is a good program. Tom Izzo's done a phenomenal job for his team, and unfortunately they couldn't get past Duke, but they were very impressive all throughout. The Cinderellas is what makes March Madness. Because you watch the games and you never truly know who is going to win. This year we had 3 #1 seeds in the Final Four: Duke, Kentucky, and Wisconsin. And Kentucky was the #1 team in America, so everyone was betting on them. Lots of people were disappointed. But
everyone also loves an underdog, kind of. Everyone,
exactly.
Even if you're not a major fan of one specific team, everyone likes to root for those guys who don't always get that chance. But talk about some of the players that really stood out during March Madness.
There was Tyus Jones, who was the player of the tournament. He plays for Duke. He had 23 points in the final. He was absolutely fantastic. It was a great showing by him. And a lot of people, because he was a freshman, they were looking at Jahlil Okafor, and he is the big man. He's most likely to be the #1 draft pick. But in the end, he was in foul trouble and got himself in a little problems in the final. But he also led this team. The freshmen, there was also other players like Grayson Allen. When Duke was down by 9 points, he led his team, put him on the back. So that was very, very impressive. And of course, the senior, Quinn Cook, it was a very special relationship that he had with Coach K, and he was so happy to win it. He was a senior, and what better way to finish your 4-year college career than with an NCAA ring?
Yeah, so scouts for the NBA are watching these games closely. Is this kind of the tournament that really determines the draft picks?
Well, yes and no. You see a lot of players that are already expected to go far, but the NCAA tournament is a chance to give other players who weren't necessarily seen throughout the year, and they're playing on the biggest stage with everybody watching in America and around the world. It's a chance for them to really get themselves out there and seen. But at the end of the day, there's known players like Okafor who's there. But another player, Frank Kaminsky for Wisconsin, he was this year's Player of the Year. He was a senior. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to get his ring, but he was a phenomenal player throughout the year. And the guy really he led the Badgers to this great run. Unfortunately, without saying that, he had the chance to possibly lead them in the end, but Wisconsin missed out on a few shots in the end. But ultimately, Kentucky, Wisconsin, they all had to be second best.
So before we finish, I just want to know what happened with the women's teams.
Women's UConn beat Notre Dame in their third consecutive NCAA championship. This was their 10th national championship. They won 65-63. So it was another exciting matchup to the end, to the wire.
Yeah, also a big basketball school there.
Huge UConn
not
Huskies.
Not really a surprise there.
They go year in, year out winning. And last year, UConn actually, both the men's and the women won. So it's a very impressive program.
Very exciting stuff. Well, thank you very much for being here with all these basketball recaps, Michael.
Thank you.
That's all for our show today. Thank you for watching. You can follow us on Twitter and Facebook and watch past episodes on i24news.tv. We'll be with you again tomorrow for the show you simply must start your day with. Have a great day.